Hi, thank you for watching our fall Virtual Prout series. My name is Angela Kramer, and I'm supposed to be your fiction reader for tonight, but I'm actually going to read a creative nonfiction piece that I think is probably the most suitable of anything I've written for the times that we're in. I'm going to start us off with a short poem. I like to do this sometimes to get us into the mental space necessary for a piece, and this one is called Not a People Person. When you say we all die alone, I answer, don't threaten me with a good time. Consummate introvert, I'm afraid any place I go. The weather turns cold, I stay indoors. The weather grows hot, I stay indoors. With friends like these, who needs friends? Even a worm will turn. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to read a creative nonfiction piece about how I finally got treatment for my anxiety and depression. So, fun topic, and it's called This Is My Brain on Drugs. 0 milligrams. I have panic attacks, sure. Impossible to breathe, sobbing, rocking, need to get out of my body, irresistible urge to tear at my hair, claw at my own skin, cut my own skin with the nearest key, ID card, pair of scissors, whatever I can find. Sure, I have those. Set off by a visit to my family, the door sticking closed in a changing room, a rapist being elected president, a bad sandwich, whatever. But those aren't the most debilitating part. Even at my worst, they're infrequent and at least over in half an hour or so. What's your anxiety level today? My therapist asks. Not the worst it gets, but where is it when you wake up in the morning, as you're going about a normal day? 6, I say. A 6? He asks, sounding a little surprised. Maybe 7, I say, knowing 8 is probably more accurate, but I don't want to scare him. He asks me every few sessions when I think my anxiety began, and I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to connect it to the recent trauma that led me to therapy, which is my ex-boyfriend being released from prison, but that's not it. I tell him the truth. I've always had it. It's been with me like a teddy bear since I was born. I was anxious in daycare at 4 years old. I was anxious in utero. I was born 2 weeks late after 4 false labors. I wake up in the morning and I lie in bed. My body will not sleep for more than 4 hours, and frequently it's much less than that. I spend a few hours on my phone scrolling through social media, opening articles I will never bring myself to read, until my alarm has long passed and I'm late for work. I buy dry shampoo because I can't always shower when I need to. I bail on any plan that includes more than 2 other people or that I can't take my husband to. I imagine driving my car into the median every day on my endless commute. This isn't the worst part. I can't hold a normal conversation. I'm terrified of crossing a boundary, of asking for anything for fear of getting too personal, so I talk nonstop. What if they think I'm boring? What if they think I'm not a good person? I have to keep talking so they won't. Then other times, I can't bring myself to say a word. I walk into work and pray no one says hello so I don't have to feel bad about not saying it back. I walk into work and pray, reading the same line again. My heart is in my throat when I pass anyone I know. I look at my phone, pretend not to notice them. I can't even name what I'm afraid of. That they'll notice me? That I'll do something awkward? What's wrong with me? I can't call my mom. She's busy. She doesn't want to hear from me. I have nothing to say. I rationalize it. When I go to see her, we talk for hours. I tell her everything. I tell her how bad my anxiety is. I think everyone has that. You're just shy, she says. I insist I'm not. I tell her about the bear. Not the teddy bear, the bear. I tell my mom how I can't go through the checkout line at the store. It's like instead of a cashier, I'll find a bear behind the register. I go through self-checkout when I can and avoid shopping altogether if I can't. But then the bear is at the dentist. The bear is on the other end of the phone when I call my temp agency to look for work. The bear is everywhere I go. I don't think other people feel like they're fighting a bear in their daily life, I say. Pulse fast, mouth dry, not sure if they should run or play dead. I don't know if she gets it. Maybe it's hard for her to admit that, whether through genetics or environment, she must have given it to me, the anxiety. Years later, I'm heading to class running late. I'm on my lunch break from my desk job and I only have 5 minutes to get to the classroom. I'm already worked up. The teacher drops your grade a whole letter if you miss even one class, and I thought I'd okayed with him that I would be out Monday for a wedding several states away. But on my drive back from the wedding, I watched my grade drop down to a C on the online class portal. It's okay, I tell myself. I'll talk to him and get it sorted out. And if not, well, it's just a C. I reach for the classroom door. The handle is wet. I grimace, open the door, and wipe my hand on my sweater. The handle was wet. I'm late. The class is full. I'll have to sit in the front. The handle was wet. The classroom isn't big enough to fit all these people. I have to weave through helter-skelter desks to one 2 feet from the teacher. I try not to hit anyone with my book bag as I sit down. The handle was wet. I can't go wash my hands. Class has started. I'll have to wait for attendance. The handle was wet. He calls my name and my face is already red. I see people starting to notice me. I don't have any friends in this class. I say here and then make for the door. I get to the bathroom and I break. My breath is coming out in spurts. I suck air, but the oxygen doesn't seem to reach my brain. I'm sobbing in public. Again, someone could walk in at any moment. I wash my hands. I wash my face. I try to breathe like the mental health professionals all say. In 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. I'm shaky, but I'm in control. I return to the classroom. I bring a paper towel so I don't have to touch the door handle this time. I wave my fat ass. I'm suddenly very aware of how fat it is now that I'm squeezing it through desks, back to my seat. I know my face is red. I know I'm right up front. Everyone can see me. I want more than anything not to be here, and I know I can't leave because my grade will drop down to a D. I can't leave. I cry silently the rest of the class. I'm in the front row. The teacher pretends not to notice. Everyone can see me. When it's over, I head back to work, but I can't go in. I lock myself into a bathroom and spend the next 45 minutes trying to calm down. I remember the teacher saying, when he set the ridiculous zero absences policy at the beginning of this year, I want you to treat this class like it's your job. You wouldn't miss a day of work, would you? I laugh at the irony. I'm missing my actual job because of this class now. When I finally head back into the office, everyone has left for a meeting. Everyone except Bonnie. When she sees me, when I explain about the attack, she sends me to the health center across the street. Years I tried to get on medication for my anxiety when therapy failed. But I couldn't make the appointment with a bear manning the phone at the health center and bears in all the exam rooms. But when Bonnie tells me to go, it works. I don't know why. 50 milligrams. It's pale blue, 10 millimeters long, ovular, and stamped with a little A that I pretend stands for my name. This is the pill that will make my brain work right. The first week on Zoloft, I feel really good. Really good. Happier and like my mind is clear. My psychiatrist warns me it isn't sustainable, that I will probably level out a little lower than that. I don't. I'm listening when people talk to me. I'm asking them about themselves before I can overthink it. I'm thinking about what I say before I say it. I'm not oversharing. I say, good morning, every day when I walk into the office. So simple. People like me. They worry when I call in sick. I get invited to more things, and I finally want to go. I get invited on a cruise. I'd spend my whole life feeling like I never quite fit in with the normies at my job, but now I'm getting invited on girls' trips. What a concept. And it's nice because the normies open up to me about their own anxieties. Most of the office is on cannabidiol oil, which I swear by. With the Zoloft and it, I can face anything. It's the bear spray to Zoloft's bear trap. And I'm shocked to find out how many of my coworkers are diagnosed with depression, anxiety, OCD. I was never alone. That's just part of the illness, believing you are. Sometimes I have anxiety still. But with the pills, it's like someone handed me a switch. When I'm panicking, I can tell myself to stop. I don't have to keep wondering over and over if the things I said upset everyone. I don't have to worry about something before, after, and during it happening. I can flip the switch and let things go. My coworker's daughter struggles with executive dysfunction. She can't begin little tasks like getting ready for school, putting things away, and she's becoming addicted to video games. I give my coworker some advice. Break things down into little steps. Maybe I don't have the energy to get up and go to work, but I can put socks on. Then I can change out of my pajamas. Then I can eat breakfast. I can't unload the whole dishwasher, but I can do the cups. Then the plates. It may take 3 tries, but I empty the whole thing. Thoughts like that never occurred to me before Zoe left. The task was so daunting, I couldn't imagine how to begin. Instead, guilt took me over for failing the simplest things. I don't know if my coworker tells her daughter all this, but I hope so. A few weeks later, I tell the same coworker about my grad school friends. They're all stressed and anxious, and one of them can't even hang out with anyone without spending days analyzing everything they've said. I say, I'm trying to convince them all to go to the health center and see about getting medication. She balks, shocked, almost angry. What are they trying now? She asks. I mean, yoga? Do they exercise? Eat right? Do they sleep 8 hours? I wish I was making this up. I don't know how to tell her that all of those are big asks for grad students who make $11,000 a year, teach, write, and earn classes. I don't know how to tell her that as much as I love yoga, it never stopped a single thought spiral or helped me get out of bed. I didn't keep my car on the road because I couldn't wait to get home to eat the kale I had. I feel dejected for a week. I feel tired and a little ashamed, and I keep thinking over what I said to her next. It's not that. The anxiety is debilitating. You can't treat a broken leg with physical therapy. You don't treat diabetes without insulin. You shouldn't treat a brain not making enough serotonin without even considering medication. It's not enough. I should have said more. I should have convinced her, but maybe I'm just convincing myself. I know the little pill works. I know mental illness is stigmatized and the treatment for it is also stigmatized. When my mom suggests going off Zoloft someday, I say, why? But that ignorant coworker still makes me feel all wrong, like I'm cheating or weak. I fight with her in my head for weeks, but I just keep coming back to this. It works. Medication fucking works, and there's no argument against that. I don't want to die anymore. Specifically, I don't want to drive my car into a bridge support. I don't see bears everywhere I go. If I have a hard day, a panic attack, executive dysfunction, it no longer feels like a personal failure that I need punished for. I can move on, try again tomorrow. 75 milligrams. 6 months after the argument with my coworker and 2 years after my first pill, the Zoloft has started to fail. A global pandemic, the rise of fascism, a civil rights movement met with scorn, it all becomes too much. My psychiatrist ups my dose and I begin to feel better again. This is not indefinitely sustainable. I always knew that. Increasing the dose increases the risk, and eventually I will tap out its effectiveness. But in the past 2 years, I've changed. I can go to the grocery now. I can make doctor's appointments. I don't miss meals. I take vitamins and CBD daily. I go for walks and bike and do fucking yoga. I've become a good friend now, and I have good friends who are there for me, who I know I can call. The support system I've created for myself in these 2 years, I've been mentally well. For the first time in my life, mentally well. That will be harder to exhaust. These 2 good years the pale blue pills gave me cannot be erased. 6 months after the argument with my coworker, she comes to me. She tells me the anxiety is too much. She's constantly on the verge of a breakdown. Honestly, she says, laughing without humor, I'm considering getting medicated. I don't ask her if she's tried yoga. Thank you.
I'm Chloe Watson, for those of you who don't know me, and I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Cassandra at Caverhill to you today. Just a little introduction to some of Cassandra's work. It has been published in Memoir Mixtapes, Segera, Open Palm Print, Typishly, the Louisville Review, and the Great Lakes Review. Along with being published in these journals, Cassandra has a new chapbook entitled Mayflies that will be out from Finishing Line Press on September 4th. Aside from being an accomplished poet, Cassandra is a generous friend and a comforting spirit. Since being in the MFA program at BGSU, whenever I have problems, whether it be personal problems, academic problems, Cassandra is always quick to answer my call with compassion and understanding. This compassion and understanding are reflected in her poetry, as you'll see in a moment. The work Cassandra will be sharing with you today explores the complexity of love, its warmth, its trappings, its disappointments, as well as exploring the longings of the past and the beauty and sadness we leave behind when we're gone from this world. All right, so introducing Cassandra.
Thank you for that introduction, Chloe. Tonight I'm going to read a mix of newer poems and some older pieces from my forthcoming chapbook, Mayflies. This first one is titled New Buffalo. Banshee beachcomber children freckled the shore while we sunbathed on damp towels. You told me Lake Michigan reminded you of the Gulf, waters you'd not seen since Katrina. In Red Arrow antique shops, we flitted through old photographs of the dead tucked into drawers. Sometimes milestones move for the sake of expedience. Dreaming deep, tides tugged longingly on our skeletal subconscious as Amtrak dropped us into this town without a station. You crushed me at backyard chess, gnat clouds shifting with every piece captured. I held tree pose in dewy grass beneath the gaze of a stained glass Jesus, his arms outstretched. We regarded those warnings about riptides that could yank us from where we felt rooted, pushing our twin beds together so we could hold hands like sea otters in floating slumber. A great lake baptismal of gelid waves shocked our insides clear. I carved our initials into the crooked boardwalk as fireflies flickered all around us, and you asked me to be your wife. This next piece is from my forthcoming chapbook, Mayflies, and though it was written a few summers ago, it sounds like it could be very fitting for today, given the pandemic and being indoors a lot of the time. It's titled, The Summer is Killing Us. Like flies caught between the glass and screen, we can see outside, but we can't get there. Our bodies buzzing ineffectual machines, skipping across the turbulent air. We can see outside, but we can't get there. Flitting around the window pane, tumbling through the turbulent air, I search for a sliver to slip past. Crawling along the window's ledge, will we ever taste the light again? Feeling for an exit wound, I find a mausoleum of lost flight. Have we always been this slight? Our minds, ceaseless, sputtering machines. A mausoleum to lost flight, like flies caught between the glass and screen. The scattering. The slab was the only proof your childhood home ever existed. Your mom paced out the dimensions in her runners, like Reminiscence were steps retraceable. Her arms spread wide as she described where your bedroom used to be, the family room, the kitchen. I tried to picture you growing up alongside Anne and David, the three of you inundating space like chickweed. So few photos were salvaged. Your family lived a block from the Gulf most of your life, but you marveled at how little time you'd actually spent on the beach. All along the boulevard, the houses stood strangely on stilts, like rolled up pant legs in the surf. You believed home would be rebuilt by Christmas, a brightly painted, picket-fenced illusion. Another shove of centrifugal force pushing you northward. The surge reached 30 feet here. Your mom had stood on Elva Drive, surveying what survived after, found your waterlogged mattress in the debris, and the cresting wave to cling to that single thing after her world upended. The remaining trees held that water line like upright matchsticks, their leaves scrunched at the crown. I felt so small. Mom's odyssey carried us all around the pass, past the raised crypts, the twinned monolith memorials, the mass of broken oaks sculpted into birds. You told me you needed to see the same things every day. You chose Michigan for that reason, a soft mittened hand to catch you in the scattering. I drank in all that endless sky and boundless water, that unencumbered pink lemonade sunset. The constancy was a source of comfort until it wasn't, like all those wraparound porches with the empty, still swings. Michael, I ran my hands across a chiseled list of the names who didn't make it, people who might have been like you, love, slumping through high school hallways, uniform polos paired with neon green hair, boys held captive by clock hands who imagined a larger life beyond the brick. When we dined that night by candlelight, the 5 of us ate fish caught that morning. The evening's conversation washed over me. I let the tide envelop me as I drifted further to the horizon toward that smudge of sea and sky past the shore. I recently lost someone I love over the summer after a prolonged illness, and this is a poem in progress about that. It's called Daylilies. Arriving home after saying our last goodbye to her in Houston, all our daylilies had cycled through their season, their succession of orange-red skirts strewn to withered swatches. Seems they were the first to turn in our neighborhood, as bunches bloomed their stunning bursts elsewhere. There was nothing we could do. Maybe our plot was filled with too much light. The empty, bleached shoots stood like antlers shed and swaying in the breeze. This next one is the title poem from my chapbook, Mayflies. Your braces left a tingling sensation on my lips like wings fluttering. When we kissed during trash duty, our uniforms sticky sweet with sweat and grease. I watched the fleeting flights of mayflies swirling later as I power washed their wispy skeletons from the brick exterior, heat sizzling the black top lot where new swarms lay. Their bodies crackled with every step I took, like bubble wrap underfoot, punctuating my thoughts of you, as though they'd been commas placed for ephemeral affect, to mark momentary pauses of respect for the inevitable crush of summer. A lot of the poems in Mayflies are about growing up in my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, and it doesn't always have the best reputation. One of the monikers the city has is Sin City of the North, and the reason for that is not only do we have a lot of bars, and we also had a casino when those were just sort of coming into being. We also had a lot of massage parlors, and I think we still currently do have a lot of strip clubs. And around the Great Recession, there was a period of time where the highest paying gig for a local musician was to play a local strip club called Leopard's Lounge. And I was dating someone at the time who ended up having a gig there. And so this is a story about me trying to be the cool girlfriend and it blowing up in my face. Stripping. On a mirrored stage, women wriggled with impassive faces to your funky chords, bare-breasted in strobe bursts. And I pretended it was a gig like any other, while hungry men ate Salisbury steak from the club's buffet between oops. Measuring myself against them, those girls with the fake tits and nails glowing gaudy under black light, did I assure myself I was valued for more than just my looks? Or was I ashamed, wrapping my cardigan around me tighter in this place where the air hung thick with sex? We argued about abortion during a break in your set as dancers ground their hips into dusty jean crotches behind us, and I was secretly delighted that whiskey made you impotent those nights we were together. How long had I been looking for signs where there were none, ignoring signals I should have seen clearly? The way you pressured me to suck you off the first time I carried your heavy gear home as though your dick were a thank you gift for my labor I couldn't refuse. How you pretended to sleep in on mornings after nights I'd asked to stay, dispatching me to daylight like I was nothing. The way you casually stroked your fender, tuning me out as if I hadn't even spoken at all. I crossed my arms, my heart, my legs, as you built to your rejection beside your bandmates, a man amongst men. And I grit my teeth, clutching the vodka rocks I wanted to smash into your face, but didn't, because the only thing that needed breaking was the image I held of myself as someone bold who bared all that I felt. This next one is called When We Moved In Together. You had keys to doors that no longer opened, and an important shitbox, a cluttered trove of personal documents, unopened mail, mementos, stained and crumpled papers. A cartographical view into your life before me that you carted to 6 states, across 3 different time zones, over 10 some odd years. We have a duty to what we tame. This next piece is also from Mayflies, and it's about a municipal garbage strike that happened in Windsor sometime after the recession, so I think it was 2009. And it involved the union CUPE, which is the Canadian Union of Public Employees. You'll hear me use that acronym in it. And this piece is called Mount Francis. For 14 weeks, the grass grew so high it turned to accidental prairie. At the Central Avenue dump, the chain picketers smoked along a trash heap dubbed Mount Francis for the mayor, a businessman balancing budgets post-recession, while squawking seagulls circled above signs sporting "No 2 tiers, no takeaways." The union tossed bottles and wire hangers into the parks to stop residents from mowing down their wages, confronting scabs in the fields as they pushed through the tangles. Artists threw seed bombs into empty lots and erected official-looking habitat signs along the edges, hoping the wildflowers would stay once the dust of mediation settled. Folks flocked west to the oil sands as auto factories hemorrhaged jobs, and those who remained undercut each other for what was left of the middle, collecting garbage for $1 per bag. 101 days it took for resentments to peak, for the divisions sown to overrun the parks, the pools, the pavement. It took 102 days for the politicians to trim the wilderness back into a shape that was controlled, for the workers to take their concessions and clear the street of rot and rats. Those slick, shiny pundits, Did they see Cupid's lost grip as the beginning of our collective unraveling when they held up our descent as a model for cities being bled dry? And my last piece is actually about a different season. I tend to write a lot about summer, and I don't know why. It's not my favorite season. So this poem was a welcome change for me to work with a different one. This is a personal favorite. It's called Winter Reminiscence. And I can't wait for winter to start. Snowy fields lie like primed canvas. You couldn't wait to trek through tundra, see the steps you'd leave behind, however small. Drained of color, the frozen landscape preserved silence while you built a colony with mittens, your wind-chapped cheeks smiling up at the milk-blue moon. You wished your limbs could wear lace as graceful as trees reaching skyward. If you could paint your vision against the desolation, which would endure? Soon the days will cease to pour like maple syrup, refuse to set like amber stones against snow. When the years run swift like sugar in the runoff, how can you return to nest your steps into those footfalls if those prints have all but been erased? Thank you so much for listening.